We live in the era of the Instagram face, the iPhone face, a beauty ideal that's basically intense perfectionism and is basically unattainable without the use of filters. So this isn't meant to judge anybody who's pursued such an aesthetic, but I do want to question when we're really being bombarded by certain imagery that's really just about perpetuating hyper-consumerism and trend culture and really feeds on people's insecurities to sell things and to make people feel like they're always reaching for something they can never actually attain. And the way it glorifies a certain beauty standard, tomorrow it's going to be something different. So how do we flip the switch, change the narrative, and claim our personal style back and still have fun with tools like makeup, fashion, hairstyles, all of that to express our unique beauty? And how can we romanticize ourselves a little bit? Enter the Kitchener style essences. So before I go into this deep dive and share with you my journey of trying all of the Kitchener essences and how this journey has gone with my audience and everything I've learned from you guys too, I do want to say, before I get into it, still take everything with a grain of salt. Don't feel like anything I'm going to say has to be all taken as law, has to be taken seriously, has to be this or that. Nothing's black and white. Take what you like from this, reject what you don't, because really with any style system like the one I'm about to explore, it's really just about having fun. And this is a journey, right? But I've really learned a lot from this system in particular because of the way I felt it's really been a way to explore my unique features and really celebrate them. And I've just really enjoyed the fact that it has an energy behind it and it's not just about how you look. So any style system might not be for you, and style systems in general might not be for everyone. But it can be really helpful for those who are struggling to kind of put into words what they've intuitively discovered about themselves and want to fall back on some guidelines, or for anybody who's been really lost and wanting to embrace their personal style and their personal features. These can be really helpful guidelines and starting points. And then you can kind of go off into the night with them. And it kind of gives you this toolbox that you can rely on. You put things into words, right? And that can just be a really helpful way to really establish your sense of self through your style. Ultimately, your personal taste and what you want to wear and what you want to do trumps everything. And by no means does everybody have to wear makeup or do their hair or dress a certain way. You do you. And just have fun. Briefly, what is the Kitchener style system specifically? So this is a style system similar to the color seasons, or if anybody's ever delved into Kibbe styling, where you look at your features and, this is the interesting part, you also look at your demeanor, the energy you just generally give off. You look at that paired with your features and find a way to categorize them and then use the tools for that category to then express yourself through your hair, makeup, clothes. So this style system runs on the scale of yang to yin. Yang representing a certain level of sharpness, angularity, boldness, going all the way to the yin side, which is about softness, gentleness, roundness. And throughout this scale, these 7 essences fall, and we all have a combination of essences. So for example, someone may be mostly dramatic, but then they have other elements in their appearance like ethereal and romantic. So they could lean into some bold looks, but find it works best when it's softened a little bit, when the shapes are a little bit more rounded and unconstructed, but they can still lean into that bold essence of the dramatic side. So the Kitchener style essences really explains why people get typecast in movies a lot, like why actors will play certain roles often, or on a personal level, it might explain why you've been told something your whole life, like you seem like you're from a different time, or you get carded every time you go to the liquor store because you look so young, or you look intimidating. It's kind of fun that way because you can categorize these things that have been said about you and then lean into it, or potentially lean away from it, right? So style systems and this system in general can just be a really great way to really find this core sense of self. In turn, it kind of helps you reject trend cycles because you have these guidelines to fall back on. There's a new trend in town, let's say high-waisted flare jeans or something. But you kind of have really explored things that work for you and work with your style and work with your taste and realize you don't need to just hop on that trend because you know it's not going to work for you and whatever goal you have with your style. It really kind of is anti-trend cycle because it really is just looking at your uniqueness and leaning into it. It's not about hiding any of it. People with broad shoulders, rock those broad shoulders, rock the shoulder pads. People with round faces, don't feel like you have to contour and try and get this sculpted look. Lean into it. Embrace those full cheeks. Put blush all over them. This isn't about hiding yourself. This is about going fully into yourself. And on a personal note, I do really like this system because you can really look at movies and shows and art that reflect some of these essences and really find a lot of inspiration there. In general, on my channel, I really like to explore creative expression through makeup through that kind of lens. I love recreating movie looks and just taking the energy of things and finding a way to express it on a physical level. So that's what has been really fun and playful about this for me, looking at movie roles and things I'm attracted to and how can I bring that into my personal style and my everyday. And like I said, really romanticize one's life. So now I'm going to review all the looks I created with each of the essences. I'm going to share what I have felt have been pros and cons, what I've liked the most, and really what's resonated with me on an energetic level. What have I just liked the most? What have I felt just really expressed my personal beauty the most? And then I really hope that following this process with me will help you on your personal style journey and how you can really kind of deconstruct it, have fun with it. Yeah, I want to discover what my potential blend is because we all have a blend of essences, like I said. So then I know in turn what I can accommodate potentially if I'm even trying a look that's totally outside my comfort zone. How can I make it more approachable for myself by having these guidelines to fall back on? So let's get into it. I'm going to do this in order of yang to yin because I actually filmed it out of order because I was filming it in what I felt like doing that day, which is just another example of you should really do what you feel like too. But this might help anybody who's been along with me on this journey and keeping it in order so you can really see the progression happening and the differences. And I'll just touch on each essence. If you want a deep dive, check out each video and I go a lot more into detail. I'm just going to skim the surface of what each one is, look at how the look worked for me, and let's see what I've learned from this process. So starting with the dramatic essence. This one is the most yang, so meaning it's the most bold, full of strong angles. People with this essence will come across as being potentially intimidating, driven, confident. They might seem kind of extroverted, even powerful. You'll more likely find angled jaws and sharp cheekbones and bold brows, high contrast in the features. And before I forget, you don't have to check off every box in this. You can have dramatic essence even if you have a bit more of a rounder jawline. These are just guidelines, so bear that in mind. But at its most extreme, it is very much about those angles, sharper shapes happening. Some examples are Cher, Lucy Liu, Keira Knightley, Zendaya, all have some dramatic essence. So this look was really fun. You guys really liked it. I do find in general, dramatic looks tend to get the most hype in some ways because they are so bold, right? And if you have dramatic essence, you can often carry these looks with ease. And if you don't have dramatic essence though, I find it can just feel a lot more bold. It's just a bit less natural, but that doesn't mean you can't still lean into it. It just might seem a bit less natural to you. But anyway, people love this kind of look. I post stuff like this on Instagram. It always gets the most likes and traction, which can sometimes be a bit frustrating because I don't necessarily want to wear makeup like this every day, right? But you guys really like this. And I really had fun with this for sure. And the pros, I would say with this, like, I did enjoy like some of the bold energy happening. I think I can lean into it a little bit with some of the structuring in my face, like here, but it was a bit too severe for me. For example, the hair is just, I can't do the slick styles. I mean, I can, but I don't like it, right? It just doesn't feel like me. And I find it fights my features a little bit. Like when I was first learning makeup, I did do this kind of shape a lot, like smokiness happening here with like angles. But I've really learned that I like it when it's a lot more feathered, more round shapes happening. And the same goes for the blush placement too. Like I do prefer it just to have a more lush feel. And I personally feel like it suits my face better because of the roundness happening throughout it. My jaw in particular is very much this like soft, round. It's not an angle. It's just a soft jaw, right? Something I was actually quite insecure about growing up, but I'm now embracing. I used to, really want a Keira Knightley jaw, and she's beautiful and great for her, but I can also embrace my own features. So yeah, I love this. I love playing with these kinds of looks sometimes. It's really fun. It can be really fun to create a look like this on Instagram, but it's not something I'm going to turn to often. I think what kind of made it work in some ways is when I added those ethereal elements. We'll get into that in a bit, but I just kind of did that naturally, the gloss and the shimmer, and I think that really carried it for me. But in particular, I just find some of these shapes a bit harsh. So that's what I've learned about this. Like if I want to lean into this type of essence in a wearable way, I'm just going to do it on a little bit softer way with softer shapes. But yeah, it's not to say that I can't also rock this look. So next up, we have the Gamine, which has some similarities to the Dramatic, but make it a little bit more compact. So still some of those like sharper lines, but more petite. So more like a pointed, like angled chin. Definitely like bold brows and high contrast. These people come across often as creative, playful, a little bit rebellious, really kind of cool because they can play with a lot of creative looks because there's sort of that a little bit childish element. They often have large magnetic eyes that just really draw you in. Yeah, they can just so effortlessly play with really quirky looks. So some celebrity examples: Janelle Monáe, Bjork, Zoe Kravitz, Audrey Hepburn, although she's a mix with classic, so she falls under that as well. But yeah, they're great examples of people who can just play with quirky elements in their style, kind of fun eyeliner, different things happening in their looks from patterns to colors, and those sharper angles within the structuring of their outfits and their hair as well. Gamines can pull off a lot of funky hairstyles. So this look, I gotta say, this one felt like the worst one for me, both on how it looked and how it felt for me. Like I played with this style a little bit in my early 20s, like trying some more quirky things, but I never found it worked for me. It never felt at home for me. I think it works against my features in a lot of ways. It's just too much kind of happening. I find I've gravitated in general to like more monochrome things happening in my makeup, for example, and whenever I do too much contrast and like colors being too different or too playful, I find it kind of overwhelms my features, and you see the makeup first. I went fully into this, like I'm trying to do that with each look, like with the headband and stuff and the accessories. Yeah, I don't know, it just didn't feel like I'm expressing like I'm the really cool, quirky, fun best friend in a movie. I just feel like I wouldn't ever be cast in this role. And I think you guys really agreed with this. I think some of you were like, okay, yeah, like this is interesting, but kind of weird. If I wanted to make it look like this though, for example, like I would just soften it a little bit more. Like I'll still do a graphic liner, but I prefer to do it with like eyeshadow, maybe a more neutral color, and then yeah, just like soften it a bit. You can already tell where my tastes lie and where I'm thinking I land on these scales, but this one in particular, I did struggle with a lot, and I admire this style a lot, and anyone who can just so effortlessly pull off those really quirky, playful elements, I bow to you, but it's not for me. So I'm fully like eliminating that one. So if you want to have fun playing with this style system, an easy way to start is like I know that's not me, right? And then you can start playing in the ones you think you might have a little bit of. So I'm totally rejecting this one the most. Bye-bye, Gamine, for me. Next up, we have the natural essence. So this is leaning a little bit on the yang scale, but it has a lot more softness to it. So often like you might have more blunt features. And by blunt, I mean, don't think round, don't think sharp, but kind of like a corner that's been cut off at the edges. So you're not quite one or the other. There's often a mix of angularity and softness in the features. People with this style tend to seem relaxed, casual, adventurous, really approachable and friendly. Yeah, just look great when they're not too overdone. Really free-flowing hair and shapes. Styling-wise, you can lean into boho potentially, or like sports athleisure wear, and just generally this feeling of really relaxed and you look really comfortable. Some examples of this are Alicia Keys, Emmy Rossum, Michelle Buteau. This one grew on me for sure. And I did have a sort of interest in this one because in the Kibbe styling system, I'm a soft natural. So I have this in my body styling and the things I wear in my wardrobe. So I was like interested in this. And when I first did it, I wasn't liking it. But upon review and like looking at it after the fact, it's really started to grow on me. And a lot of you in the comments did really like this. Although some of you like mentioned, like I had said at the end of this video, it did feel like it was just missing a little something. Like when I leaned fully into the very beachy sort of relaxed energy and like I didn't groom my brows too much. Like I still stand by like it needs a little bit more. But I did agree with one of your comments. Like it seemed like me on vacation at Carmel by the Sea. Like I did love the warm tones happening here, and I do prefer my hair when it's got that more tousled look. That's something I've had to learn over the past couple years. I just absolutely hate when my hair's just too perfect. So I really feel attracted to the style in that way, that loose energy. And while I don't think I necessarily, when you first meet me, give off the essence of like super adventurous and casual, I do think when people get to know me, they really see my kind of warmer side, and I feel like I'm very kind and approachable, and I try my best to go with the flow, even though I have some anxiety. But anyway, yeah, I started to grow on this one, and I do think that natural is part of my blend, especially because there is that mix of softness and angularity. It kind of explains a little bit some of my soft features, but then this area of my face. Again, something I used to be so self-conscious of. I used to hate my nose. I used to hate my nose bridge. I always wanted a sloping nose. And since doing this in particular, it's really solidified for me a real acceptance and appreciation for my unique features. So yeah, I think this is in my blend for sure. Now we have the classic essence. This one lands exactly in the middle of the scale. So that says it all. It's really about being very balanced. People with this essence, their features generally don't have one thing really standing out. Everything's kind of very moderate and just in line with each other. You may seem very elegant and timeless, super put together, clean. You do well with a lot of minimalism in your wardrobe. It doesn't look boring on you if you're classic. And that's a real like telling sign of classic energy. If you can go for those just really basic shapes and colors, but you look great in them and you don't look boring, you likely have classic essence. Some examples are Michelle Yeoh, Kristen Davis, Meryl Streep, and then Audrey Hepburn again, because she can play into that gamine, that fun side of herself, or those really classic silhouettes. And the makeup being very just like subdued and slightly emphasizing everything, a little bit on the eyes, a little bit on the lips. So I really tried to lean into that, just the really sort of put together feel. And along with gamine, I think this is one of my worst essences. It's not that it was bad, it's not that it was horrible, but as one of you said, this seems like a corporate version of you. And that just doesn't resonate with me by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a corporate person at all. So yeah, I just found this was just utterly boring. I really don't like when everything's just too put together. I just find it doesn't do anything for me. I don't feel my best self. I don't feel my most magnetic, and I don't feel like I'm expressing also my personality, right? like I said, I just don't jive with that energy on like a very personal level. And I don't think it suited my features much. It was fine, but it wasn't great. So definitely kicking that one off the roster for sure. Next up, we have the romantic essence. So this is a very sensual and womanly essence for sure. People with this essence will have more like lush types of features. So like round lips, arched brows, potentially like a rounder nose, medium to high contrast, and a little bit of classic Hollywood vibes. You can really lean into that glamour, just really easily and effortlessly. Some examples of this are Scarlett Johansson, Beyonce, although she has a lot of strong dramatic in there as well. Ana de Armas. These people, they could just so effortlessly play the seductress in a movie. This look I really, really liked by the end. I love a red lip. I love a bold, lush lip. I like kind of playing with my brow shape a little bit more and like adding that angle. As I said when I was filming this, I'm not sure I'd play exactly the seductress, but a lot of these elements felt like they were working for me. And just like that general leaning into some of the like rounder sides of my features, including like roundness here. And I just love kind of leaning into that lush womanly side of myself when I can. It does make me feel very grown up and put together. And it can be fun sometimes to just really pull on this essence on a certain day, like a date night or something. And I've been really enjoying leaning into a little bit more contrast. I've been playing with darker brows recently. Yeah, I'm a natural blonde, but I've been wearing my hair red for over a decade now. I've just found it suited me a lot better, and it just brings this like more lushness into my features that I really like and like I really jive with. I don't think this is my dominant essence, but I definitely think that this is falling into something I have. I found the hair was a little bit maybe too kind of perfect for me. I do like that natural side more. Like I just don't like when there's much sleekness here. I like the texture. That's why you'll constantly see me going like this, because it just wants to fall flat. But yeah, I found a lot of this worked for me, and I do like integrating a lot of romantic details into my outfits and stuff. Like little lace details can be nice, but yeah, I'm not necessarily leaning fully into it and the bombshell effect. I definitely like to have a bit more of a relaxed feeling being paired with the romance. This essence can sometimes feel like a lot of work to fully lean into, but yeah, sometimes really fun when you're in the mood. And I'm ticking this off as something I think I have a little bit of. I've always felt at home in a red lip, and yeah, I think a lot of it was working for me. Next, we have the Ingenue. So this essence really has a intense youthful energy. People with this essence tend to be told like they look a lot younger than they are. Generally more like round eyes, more petite features, but rounded. I like to think of this as Gamine's sort of more innocent sister, because there's those like smaller features, but they're more rounded. It's not like a sharp chin. It's more like a rounded chin. And just a general look of seeming really young. And when you lean into that, it doesn't necessarily make you feel or look like you're playing dress up. Like you could just really easily and effortlessly play with these really girlish and really childish details. You may seem just like innocent, caring, approachable, and the palette is generally a bit softer, like pastels and light washes of color. Some celebrity examples are Nicola Coughlan, Marilyn Monroe. Yes, she's a perfect blend of ingenue and romantic. Depends what she wants to lean into, right? Elle Fanning and Halle Bailey. As you can tell from these pictures, they just look really cute and at home in this styling. And yeah, being cute is very ingenue. So this look, yeah, I went for like the pastel kind of eye and really, really pink lips and cheeks. You can really lean into that flushed look and braids. This was fun. This was really cute. Like I like the braids. I don't think this was working like super like against me in any way. Like the way I felt like the gamine in particular, the sharpness. There are definitely days where I bust out a look like this when I'm in a specific mood, and it's usually a mood of like, I want to look cute today. And I don't think it looks like awful or anything. I don't think any of this looks awful, actually. Yeah, I feel like the flush cheeks work. I like the lips. I love a like glossy pink lip. I found like the eyes, maybe there was just a bit too much like youthful feeling around the eyes, like the spiky upward kind of rounder look I decided to go for. I just don't like what it does for this part of my face. It's almost like it's rejecting the maturity I think I have here, where I can lean into a little bit more smokiness potentially. So yeah, not awful, not something I felt like amazing in, but I do remember that I kept this look on for the rest of the day and I felt cute. Yeah, that's all I could say about that. I really don't think I have Ingenue essence though. I've never once been told that I look young. In fact, I shared in a couple videos how it's been the opposite problem for me. When I was 12 years old, someone thought I was my brother's mother, and he's 2 years younger than me, and they thought I was my dad's wife. I was 12. I'm rarely ID'd even before I was of age and was at bars. Yeah, I just feel like I give off a bit more mature look to my face. I have some friends who definitely get this, and I'll be beside them and they're getting ID'd and I'm not, So I definitely don't think I have this, but I think I can play into it when I want to have that energy. So now we are at the yin side of the scale, and we've landed on the ethereal essence, also known as the angelic essence. People with this essence tend to seem potentially otherworldly. You'd likely be cast as an elf or a fairy or some such mythical creature, because there's this like feeling of almost wisdom or like withdrawing, like you're kind of keeping a secret, kind of veiled. You're living on another plane because you're giving off this energy of certain kind of wisdom. Tend to have this sort of magnetism that's a lot more subdued than, say, the romantic. It's not as intense in an obvious way. It's more in a like, I'm intrigued by you kind of way. And people may be a little bit intimidated by you just because you seem like you're so just on this other planet, from this other world. People with this essence tend to have more like elongated facial features, lower contrast, and yeah, just this general look of like you can't quite place them. Like, it's not that they seem as timeless as the classic, it's more that they seem beyond time. So some celebrities with this essence: Anya Taylor-Joy, Kate Blanchett, Gemma Chan, Lupita Nyong'o. They can so effortlessly just fall into this mythic realm, just really lean into that look of having a very mythic and dreamlike quality. So this essence definitely, it has my heart in terms of its aesthetics. A lot of this I'm really drawn to. And so what I did for this look was really lean into sparkle and glow, and like played with like highlighter that had like a purple reflect in it. Anything that kind of reminded me of something a little bit celestial and glowing. I really liked this makeup look. I think it was one of the best ones on me. This is an example of where I feel like a makeup look's just making me feel like I'm my most magnetic self. And a lot of you really like this one and agreed with me. And I think this is probably one of my more dominant essences. These tones always work for me. I can always fall back on them, just like sort of berries and like more like muted reds have always been something I love, and adding gloss and shimmer just like I find really just lifts my face and like brings this magnetism that maybe other makeup looks wouldn't do for me. And yeah, I like leaning into the waves. Like ethereals are defined by having this really like S wave, so like leaning into clothes that feel like a waterfall, like they're just skimming the body. And the same goes for like hair, and it kind of reminds me of this aspect of my face, like it's this soft curve that I was once very self-conscious of, but now I'm leaning into it. And I had also said I was really self-conscious of my slightly longer face. I used to cheat the camera angle to shorten it because I was self-conscious, and now I'm just totally leaning into it. And I think this is a great example of how when you romanticize something and lean into it, you can really just find that self-love. And I really hope you guys have been feeling that. A lot of you have shared that as well with me in the comments, and I'm loving to see that. And yeah, this essence has been the one that's mostly helped me embrace my features and like the way I've always seemed older, more mature. Mom, you're probably watching this, but she said something like when I was born, I looked like what was it? I think an owl or something, like a wise little owl. even as a baby. And it suits my name, I gotta say. There's angel in my name. So I am claiming this. This is an example of where you might really love something and you just want to claim it a bit. So maybe you might disagree with me, but I like it and I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it for something that really feels like an extension of myself expressed through physical style. So yeah, I love this one the most. It's really something I've learned that I like to lean into a lot. If a look is feeling flat for me, add a little bit of gloss, add a little bit of glow, and then I'm liking it way more. So that was it for the 7 Kitchener essences. Among these 7 essences, you can find that you have a blend, and one may be more dominant, or you may find it's pretty equal. Generally, people have 2 or 3, and then even potentially like a little bit of 4. Then one of you mentioned this thing called the Oniric essence, the lost essence. And I was like, what is that? When I first Googled it, I had trouble finding what you were talking about. But then I found these Reddit threads of people who felt like there was something missing between sort of the ethereal and dramatic ends of the spectrum. They were really looking for something that felt like it had a dreamlike and magical quality from the ethereal, but had more of the intensity of the dramatic. Hence, the Oniric was born by these users on Reddit. And I think this is a great, great example of how you can take this system, use some of the guidelines, and create something totally new. And it's just a really fun process. And I really love delving into this essence because a lot of it spoke to me. So yeah, let's get into some specifics of it. If ethereal is otherworldly, Oniric is underworldly. And one of you had commented that, and I think that's just such a great way to put it. So it has that dreamlike quality and almost magical quality of the ethereal, but make it gloomy. Make it more like a nightmare, a little bit austere, a little bit just in general like darker. People with this essence may tend to look a little bit more withdrawn. Your face may cast more shadows, whether that's like deep set eyes, eye bags, gaunter cheeks, hooded eyes, anything that's casting a little bit more shadow into the face. They do have that feeling of withdrawnness similar to the ethereals, but it's a little bit more like in a haunting way and a bit more like you want to be alone way. And unlike the ethereals, there's more high contrast usually, but more of like on a color palette, a lot more muted. And like these colors between colors, just like muddied up colors, people with this essence can really lean into. Some examples are Jenna Ortega, Winona Ryder, Theda Bara, and Rooney Mara. And I really loved delving into this essence because it spoke to a lot of my personal aesthetics. Like I said, how much I loved the ethereal. Really, I do love the ethereal as much as I love the dark side of it. I love horror, things a little bit witchy and otherworldly in a dark way. It's my favorite kind of art. It's my favorite aesthetic in movies. So this was just such a treat. And what was so fun/funny/cool about this essence is how much it leans into that kind of muted, sickly, ghostly look to yourself. So I really leaned into like these muted tones, keeping my eye bags. I've never ever done that in a makeup look. I kept my eye bags and just like this kind of shadowing with these really in-between colors. You guys loved this look. You guys loved this essence. I posted it not even a day ago and the views are already like way like going high. So a funny thing about this is like I can look at the views and I feel like even from the little thumbnails, like what people are more magnetically drawn to can say something about this. So let's see. I'm pretty sure Gamine has the least. Yeah, Gamine has the least. I mean, some of these have been posted longer than others, to be fair, but Gamine has the least, followed by Dramatic. That was only 4 days ago. And then the most has been Ethereal, Romantic, followed by Natural. But Oniric's already beaten some of them, and I posted it 23 hours ago. Anyway, you guys love this. You guys love looking like a ghost, and a lot of you felt like this has expressed something in your features that you weren't finding in some of the other essences, even in some of the blending ideas. So I loved that, and I loved how this is an example of taking that system and filling the gaps. And I think it's really cool this way you could potentially lean into something you're told not to by beauty standards. Like you're supposed to cover up those dark circles. But this is all about leaning into it. And I had a lot of fun just creating this and leaning into like a very Victorian ghost energy. In terms of the makeup look, I think some of this worked for me for sure. Like I think if I could be cast in a movie as like a more haunting figure in Jane Eyre, Gothic era type of movie or something. I wouldn't necessarily go fully into this for my personal style, but I feel like there's something really interesting happening here. If I can like take some elements of this look and combine it with some of my other favorite essences, I think it could add that little extra like, ooh, you know? Like I definitely felt like some of this worked for me. And the fun thing about the essences is you can just lean fully into one, you know? It's like going like, ooh, depending on your mood of the day. And I think I might want to do more looks like this, just like really leaning into something gloomy, especially because a lot of you liked it. Do I have Oniric essence? I think I have a little bit. I don't think fully. I don't think it's dominant, but I think it's kind of the flip side of Ethereal I can kind of work with together to just grunge it up a little bit. I do think a little bit of grunging up works for me, especially if I'm approaching makeup from a more like storytelling lens. I think I can lean into this. So, conclusions. First and foremost, this was just so fun. It was so fun to really put into words some styles that are really kind of pillars of like certain aesthetics and blends of people's features. I just had so much fun. And that's really the name of the game when it comes to style, right? But beyond that, what I found worked for me the most was ethereal, romantic, natural, and a little bit of Oniric. My diagnosis, so you can actually like break it down into percentages if you want. I think the dominant was ethereal. Let's give it like 35 or 40%, but I'm going to throw in a bit of Oniric kind of paired with it as like ethereal, but grunge it up just a touch. So like 10% Oniric or something. And then I'm going to split half and half that remaining 50%. So 25% romantic, 25% natural. So basically what I'm looking for in my styling going forward, at least as a system to fall back on, is basically finding moments where I can lean into magical elements, gloss and glitter. Those just feel really at home and fun for me to play with. I like to integrate into that a little bit of grunge, whether it's in my style, like what I'm wearing potentially, or maybe the way I smoke out my makeup of the day. I might want to play sometimes with those in-between colors for a bit more of a withdrawn look. When it comes to the romantic, I always love a look that has something lush going on, particularly in the lips. I love a dark red. I love like a really glossy pink lip, and just really leaning into that round element of my features and like a lot of blush. It just feels so much at home for me. Then with the natural, I feel like it's making sure nothing's ever too curated. It's having that little bit of looseness happening, usually in the hair for sure, but you know, softer blends on the eyes a little bit. And yeah, with my clothing, I like to have some relaxed elements kind of going with some ethereal details. So yeah, I find all these kind of work cohesively and create this blend that feels very like it's leaning into aspects of my personality and of my features. This is kind of creating this little rule book or guideline that I'm going to fall back on if I'm like playing with something. I'm like, why isn't this working? What can I do to like make it feel like it's going to feel more at home for me, make me feel more comfortable? So maybe I do more a Gamine eye look. What am I going to do? Maybe I'll just do a really lush glossy lip and I'm just going to feel more myself and really still have fun playing with some Gamine elements. If you find you come up with a blend, it can be fun to Google it, like how people have like termed that blend. Or on Reddit threads or websites. So this blend, I'm just loving this. Casual Siren, Relaxed Aphrodite, Sexy Earth Goddess. Ooh. So this look is best comfortable, sexy, and magical. I feel like that just sums me up. And I just really gravitate towards that. Just like having all these elements playing together and something a little bit magical and Aphrodite, but relax her a bit, even modernize her a bit. Add a little touch of grunge, you know? Yeah, again, romanticize yourself, romanticize your life, romanticize your style. I started this journey thinking this would just be really something fun to do. And I've ended this journey really realizing how many of you just loved the way this was about celebrating all kinds of features and none being better than the other, and how much it was about just like leaning into yourself and not like trying to hide yourself. I just loved how many comments people said like this has helped you just like embrace parts of yourself that just like lifts my spirits, because I think beauty gets a bad rep in this world of consumerism and beauty standards, but it can be a really, really joyful and creative thing. And it can really actually help you embrace yourself. And also like embracing your features as well when you're not wearing makeup is super important too. When I'm not wearing makeup, I think I'm leaning more into the Oniric, a little bit of those darker circles, and I'm kind of already feeling a little bit more okay with that because it gives off an energy. So yeah, I really think that's it for today, really it for this journey right now. Although, wait, I'm planning to do a makeup look after this, doing the blend of these essences. So stay tuned for that and have fun finding your own style, finding your own essences, and just being really playful. This has been such a fun journey. Yeah, that's it for today. Toasty, let's take it away. And we determined in the last episode, toast is ingenue with a little bit of natural in there. Thank you guys all for watching this series, coming along with me on this journey. I really hope it's helped you learn something about yourselves as well. And I really have appreciated all the support and all the comments. And yeah, if you want to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, help support the channel. And until next time, may you all find yourselves a little bit of makeup magic, and we will see you in the next video. Bye, witches.